I'm at Large Auteur and welcome to another vinyl recommendation. Today I'm going to be talking about an album that is very special to me, Hitler Wears Hermes 8. Sincerely, Adolf. This is the last installment besides Side B of the Hitler Wears Hermes series, which Westside Gunn has been releasing every year around October. And this is a series of mixtapes that kind of highlights where Griselda's at each year, Griselda being Westside Gunn's record label. And I just can't emphasize enough how special what Griselda is doing is. They really have brought back underground hip-hop in a way that trumps even the golden era. So Westside Gunn is a personally one of my favorite rappers, just for the way he conducts himself, the way he emphasizes art, and he always seems to go above and beyond for what he considers to be the culture of rap and for his fans. So this was his farewell for this series. He's not going to do any more Hitler albums. He did Side A and Side B. I'm going to be reviewing Side A. A lot of people say they prefer Side B, and I can understand that. It has Julia Lang on it, it has Celine Dion, it hits really hard. But I honestly prefer Side A. This album, I waited until midnight for it to come out, and I think I listened to it like 5 times in a row. This hit so hard. And I waited until I saw them live to review this because I wanted to kind of add that into the review. And it was one of the best shows I've seen live. Westside Gunn sounded studio quality, probably because his voice is so characteristically him and he doesn't use much tuning, that it just came through so well live. Just one of the best hip-hop shows I've seen in probably 10 years. I saw them in Chicago, and I actually got to meet Westside Gunn at his pop-up. This album, I feel like he brought together the best ensemble so far in Griselda history too, just with features from, like, first off, Danny LaFair, conductor, and Camouflage Monk. I can't emphasize their production enough. The production on this was incredible. Those three together make fantastic albums. It's worth noting that this was his first Billboard charting album. He claims that, and he even mentioned this himself, I might show a clip, but he claims that he makes all of these Hitler albums in like a week or in a couple. He said Hitler 2 he made in one day.
A lot of people just, they harped in the wrong places, man, or they trying to make some shit. That's why none of my albums take longer than a week, because it's just like.
You telling me you made Blind and Tell in a week?
Yeah.
Supreme Blind?
I made Hitler 2 in one day.
You made Hitler 2 in one day? That's the, hey.
So, I'm going to take his word for that, but that's pretty funny. He probably thinks it up in his mind and then kind of explodes in the studio when he's ready to make the album. But he claims he made all of these fast. And it's really interesting that he got Stove God Cooks and Rome Streets, because they're some of the best up-and-coming rappers. Stove God Cooks is perfect on Griselda. I don't think there could be a better place for him. And Rome Streets really got my attention with that Death and the Magician album. That was a super cool album with DJ Muggs. So I was happy to see them join Griselda and officially become members with this album. They had previously acquired Boldy James, which was another really cool addition to the Griselda roster. And they even featured Jadakiss and Lil Wayne on this, so I can't think of a better roster. Peri was probably my favorite song on this. The overall vibe would be, all the drug dealing is almost mentioned in the past tense. So I kind of look at this album as like a group of like villains meeting and just celebrating their victories and just like gloating almost. I can't emphasize enough how crazy and intricate and just interesting Westside Gunn's flows are. I was amazed to see him deliver it in the exact same cadences live. So that was wild. I love all the outros to the songs and the intros. They'll have a lot of interesting like pitch dropping and a lot of cool vocal samples. Like, they'll almost have the intro be a completely different vocal sample than what they're used for the rest of the song, so that's pretty cool. I just like a lot of the lines on this. I'm going to go through the songs and kind of talk about them one by one. It starts with this super bassy kind of intro track. I think it's referring to an LA designer like the Maxfield store. He's talking about murder in Maxfields. That's a cool title. Blessed Times is the second track. He has A.A. Rashad do an intro, which is really dope, and he even had him deliver that live before Westside walked out, so that was pretty cool. Then we go into Mariota, and this is where we get our first verse from Westside Gunn. A lot of people's complaints about Westside Gunn's projects is he doesn't rap enough on his own projects, but I think it's a good balance. He just curates great albums. He finds some of the best up-and-coming rappers and then pairs them with these beats. And then on top of that, Westside's flows are just insane. That first song he's talking about, need 1,000 bricks right now. Don't gotta worry at all. And then Stove God comes in with the second verse and just continues to set the tone. I mean, then it goes into one of my favorite songs on the album, Vogue Cover. Let the work dry on the Vogue Cover. This whole album is just embedded into my memory. I'll never forget this album. And let me go back to Mariota, because I really liked his line about electric screwdriver, take the doors off the Aston. And then before that he mentions, you can't even mess with my bad stuff, referring to other people's discographies can't even compete against his bad stuff. And then he says, what am I kidding? I don't even have any bad stuff, which is true for Stove God. I mean, like, there's not a single song was lacking on this album. So I love that they talk real shit. Then it goes into Vogue Cover. I just love the flair in Stove God's delivery. Like, his cadence is just so... It's almost even... He's even better at hooks than Westside Gunn for this style. Then Westside comes in and says, walked in the bank bitch, called me handsome. I love that line. That's just so goofy. And then they say singing like Eddie Lizard on it. And it seems like an outro, but it's just like a split up between him and Stove God's verse, and I love that. It almost sounds like they recorded it themselves so they didn't have to sample it. And then Stove God's verse, he's talking about waited at the plug's crib for 72 hours, watered all the flowers. I was like, come get the powder. He's referring to his dealer making him wait to do the deal, making sure he's not just going to walk off and that he's committed. I kind of like those details. Then we go into Margellia's Split, First Day, Who Runs the Stove, Who Runs the Phones, that's what it was. First Day, Who Runs the Phones, he's talking about going into prison. I love this. Max Flow is really cool too on this. Just the imagery Westside comes up with is so lyrical and so dense, I feel like it has to go over people's heads. Because when I talk about Westside Gunn being lyrical, everybody's like, Benny or Conway's lyrical, but Westside's not lyrical. They're all three lyrical. You just don't get what Westside's saying. The next song, I really love the outro, Draymond, because it's what you do after the brick. Bitch, I'm Draymond, referring to like good offensive rebounding. Like, even if he fails, he can just pull himself up by his bootstraps. And this song has Rome Streets and Stove God Cooks together. So anytime that happens, I really like that track. I think they have good synergy. I just really like Rome Streets and Stove God. I hope that Westside continues to curate for them, because I feel like he's the best creative director for those two individuals. Would love to see more DJ Muggs production, though, brought in with those two. Peri is one of my favorite songs, hands down, period. I just love... I love the outro to that. But just the fact that Westside can tell stories with that flow, with that kind of avant-garde delivery is crazy to me. And just him, like, he's referring to people, but he's also using code words, so like there's layers upon layers of meaning in this song. And it seems like he's just talking about some girls he knew that turned into crackheads. But the details, like, you think it could be she's hanging out with her friend Tina, but that could mean she lost money, so now she's smoking meth instead of being able to do the coke. Like, bitch smoked her teeth out, still smiling like she fine. That's one of the best hooks of any rap song. Used to look like Mona Lisa, now she's sweating like she got a fever. Used to be a diva, used to do work with Tina, yo. I mean, that song is perfect. That song is so perfect. The story he tells, oh my god. That's just one of my favorite songs. That, I even remixed that into a dubstep song just because I love that hook, like to build up a drop. Bitch smoked teeth out, still smiling like she fine. Yeah, I love that. I love that song. I love the beat too, that dun dun dun, that kind of crawling piano. I love that. Right Now is another really good track, another really strong hook from Stove God. So much personality in everything Stove God delivers. I love the image of dragging the stove, and I love the delay that they put on the hook. Like, it's just super cool. And then that's the one that Jadakiss comes in, so there's no you always win when you have a Jadakiss verse. And this was right off that Versus, so that was a pretty cool timing. Westheimer is a good song. That's the 9th track. At this point, the vibe is solidified for this album, and hearing Boldy is just icing on the cake. It just continues to be quality. It continues with this feeling. That's what I love about Westside Gunn's album, is from beginning to end, they have the same feel. He makes them as solid pieces of art. So this whole album flows as if it was one just like perfect sounding album. Like every song transitions into the next song. It's just beautiful. Bash Money is where we get Wayne, and this is fresh off of him doing that song with Run the Jewels, and then have him coming from Run the Jewels over to Griselda is just so dope. I feel like Lil Wayne even elevated his flow to fit in. It was just super cool. Then we get Claire's back, all three of them together. That's what they named their tour, and there's no losing either when you have Westside, Benny, and Conway all on the same track. Spoons, I mean, what can I even say at this point? Flow and progression is fire. Conway is gonna deliver. And then 716 Mile, Boldy ends it really strong, and I like that it ends on the 13th song. That's kind of a funny number, and I like how he even looks like some anime supervillain on the front of this. This album is just so perfect. Yeah, just like on Marginally a Split when he says, "If you don't know my grandmother, I can't trust you." Westside Gunn is like the crazy duality combination of like Ric Flair and like the fear of God of someone like MLK. It's hard to describe. Like, I don't see a lot of pain in him anymore. It's almost like he's dealt with all his issues and he's moved on to some like elevated plane. And I don't see that in a lot of other rappers that talk this kind of spiritual street shit where they feel like they've moved on to another level, but they really haven't. The only other person that comes to mind that's like that was DMX. And I think that's why DMX co-signed Griselda so hard, is he saw that they were anointed. Yeah, great live. They came with so much energy. I got it signed. He was really respectful. Listened to everything I had to say. People that were bullshitting with him, he knew when to just dismiss people right away. I just think that Westside Gunn is a solid dude, and I'm excited to see what albums he comes out with next. He says he's hopefully going to work with Ghostface and Raekwon, but that's a long shot. I asked him if we're going to get a Madlib album, and his response was, "Madlib is my brother, and the fans keep asking, so something's on its way." It's kind of unfortunate that they were beefing, that Freddie said those things about Benny. People in Gary just really have no regard for life. I'm from Indiana, so I know kind of like, it's weird, but there was a kid who got shot selling weed in high school, and he still gets clowned to this day for getting shot. I feel like Freddie was coming from that place of like, he saw Benny not returning to Houston as some coward move, but Benny can do whatever the hell he wants. He's a grown man. So for Freddie to make fun of Benny over getting shot is some weirdo shit. So I'm really sad that the local rappers like Freddie Gibbs is no longer messing with Griselda. I thought that they worked together really well. But hopefully we still get that Westside Gunn Madlib album. I asked him about his creative process, and he says he doesn't force anything. He only raps when he feels like he has something to rap about, and he tries to rap quickly, and he understands that it's not a linear process, and he tries to approach it in different ways and keep it fresh, and he just does it out of love. And I think that's apparent with just how he moves around. Like, he moves his cars to cities and shows up in his cars and always makes sure he shows all his fly shit everywhere he goes, and I can appreciate that commitment to the image and to the culture of being one of the flyest people alive. I feel like he really does pull it off. I think he's a good fashion designer too. I really would put Westside Gunn in the legend category. All of Griselda in the legend category, but especially Westside Gunn. There's just something different about him. And yeah, maybe I'll end it with my dubstep remix of Peri as the outro. But this was definitely a special track, special album, and I'm proud to own it on vinyl. Yep. Do.
Still smiling like she fine. Peace out, still smiling like she fine. Peace out, still smiling like she fine.